Close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I read that correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president and other state officials for punishing people for
Did you honestly say that, Professor? And you expect us,
that the First Amendment,
as a Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me? I'm going to quote your words. Taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy. End quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, when the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats. Close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay.
Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's your patriotic friend here, and today I want to talk about something that should absolutely have every red-blooded American on edge. We're diving into a Senate hearing where Senator John Kennedy absolutely rips apart a left-wing radical, Professor Marian Franks. Now let me tell you folks, this is a must-see. Senator Kennedy doesn't hold back when questioning her extreme views, and trust me, his questions should make you stop and think about what's happening in our country. Before we dive into the details, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and let's get started after the video.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for having to miss the testimony of some of you, and I appreciate you coming today. Professor Franks, let me ask you, I listened to your and Ms. Hemingway's testimony and Professor Turley's, so I got part of it. As I understand it, your position, Professor Franks, is that I think you used the word myth. It is a myth that the Biden administration used government to compel speech, private speech, but that the Trump administration is doing that. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you think perhaps you're allowing your personal political beliefs to affect your objectivity here?
No, I do not. What is guiding my answers here is that I'm looking to see what the Supreme Court has said. You notice that in the testimony about the censorship industrial complex.
I got that part.
No, I just want to clarify.
No, but I've only got 5 minutes. Your answer is no, as I appreciate it. Let me ask you a couple questions. You wrote a law review article in December of 2023 for the New York University Law Review, and it was about the two cases, Bruin, Supreme Court case, and Dobbs. Remember that article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In this article, you said, I'm going to quote your words, taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy, end quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, when the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats, close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court, referring to the current United States Supreme Court, has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well, close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a lot, aren't you?
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is.
You try to be provocative on there, don't you?
Again, I'm not sure what the relevance
Well,
of this question is.
let me show you the relevance. On November 7th, 2024, from your tweet, here's one of your tweets at 2:41 p.m. Quote, "The majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy." Close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did you
hearing.
say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but
Yeah,
what is
you
the
said it.
relevance of
Here
that
it
to
is,
this
big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there.
Yes.
But your political beliefs don't impact your feelings about President Biden or President Trump.
I don't have feelings about either of them. What I have
Sounds
is
to me like you have your favorite feeling is anger. Let me ask you this. You issued another tweet. This was in May of 2022. You've just been tweeting up a storm. You said, quote, "There's a reason why the conservative-dominated Supreme Court thinks the Constitution does not contain a right to an abortion, but is convinced that it contains an individual right to possess firearms. And that reason is white male supremacy." Close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I read that correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president
Did you
and other
say
state
that?
officials for punishing people for
Did
their
you honestly say that, Professor?
I
And you
believe
expect us,
that the First
as a
Amendment-
Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me?
I believe that you should take
You
the First
heard of
Amendment
curb your
seriously, sir.
enthusiasm? Here's my saying, curb my nausea.
I
Thank you.
believe that you
The
should take the First
time has
Amendment
expired. Thank
seriously.
you. Senator Durbin.
All right, let's talk about what we just saw. First off, you heard how Senator Kennedy starts off with an important question. He asks Professor Franks if her personal political beliefs are affecting her objectivity. And you know what? This is a huge issue. Look, we're talking about a law professor who is supposed to be a neutral academic voice, someone who looks at the Constitution and law from a position of reason and facts. But when you hear the stuff she's been writing and saying, well, folks, it's clear as day. She's been using the law as a weapon to push her leftist agenda. And trust me, we've seen this happen before, where the left uses the system to mold their ideology into our legal and political framework. But let's break this down. Kennedy references her own article in the New York University Law Review from December 2023. In that piece, Frank says that the Supreme Court has, quote, embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy. Let that sink in. Racial patriarchy. Now, if that doesn't scream far-left radicalism, I don't know what does. What she's implying here is that the Constitution, our Constitution, is somehow inherently racist and oppressive. Folks, that's absolutely insane. We know the Constitution is the framework for freedom, liberty, and justice. The very document that has allowed America to become the greatest nation in the history of the world. But here we have someone, a so-called academic, who wants to tear it down, accuse it of racism, and then rewrite it according to her own twisted ideology. Now, Kennedy doesn't let up. He goes on to read more of her article, where she claims that when the Supreme Court upheld the right to bear arms, it was somehow promoting a culture of white supremacy. I mean, seriously, folks, this is what we're up against. People on the left don't want to protect your Second Amendment rights. They want to take them away. They want to disarm you, they want to disarm America, and they're going to use any argument, no matter how absurd, to push their agenda. But here's the truth. The Second Amendment isn't about protecting white men, it's about protecting all Americans. It's about defending our right to protect our families, our communities, and our country from threats both foreign and domestic. And this next part? Well, you better hold on to your seat. Kennedy brings up a tweet from November 2024 where Professor Frank says that the majority of Americans hate women. What? Let me get this straight. A law professor who claims to be an academic is using social media to make wild, unfounded claims like this? But guess what, folks? It doesn't stop there. She goes on to say, quote, the majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy. Now, I don't know about you, but that's the kind of rhetoric you expect from a radical left-wing activist, not someone who is supposed to have a rational understanding of the law. This isn't about promoting civil discourse or intellectual debate. This is about inflaming divisions and pushing the left's narrative. And let's talk about her tweet from 2022, shall we? In that one, she claims that the conservative-dominated Supreme Court believes the Constitution doesn't protect abortion, but somehow does protect gun rights, and she calls this white male supremacy. That's a flat-out lie, folks. This kind of divisive rhetoric only weakens our nation. The truth is that the Supreme Court made its ruling on abortion based on the Constitution and the rule of law, not because of some so-called white male supremacy. As a nation, we must remember that the Constitution guarantees freedom and justice for everyone, not just one group or one ideology. And when it comes to the Second Amendment, it's about defending your rights to keep and bear arms, not about race or identity politics. It's about ensuring that all Americans, regardless of their background, can protect themselves. Now, what really gets me here is how Senator Kennedy points out how Professor Franks is using Twitter, or whatever platform it is now, to spread these radical ideas. Look, I get it. Social media is a tool, but it's also become a battleground where the left can spew divisive, un-American rhetoric without any accountability. And when you have someone like Franks, who's an officer of the court, using social media to attack the values we hold dear, it raises a serious question about her fitness to serve in any academic or professional capacity. How can we trust someone like this to teach the next generation of lawyers? How can we trust someone who's openly hostile to the core values that make America great? And let's talk about Kennedy's final remarks. When he calls out Franks for pushing this radical agenda, he's doing it for all of us. He's standing up for liberty, freedom, and justice. He's calling out the left-wing elites who think they can redefine our laws to fit their own narrative. This isn't just about one professor or one case. This is about the future of America. We can't let these radicals destroy our country. We can't let them turn our courts, our legal system, and our Constitution into tools for political warfare. So, my fellow patriots, here's the bottom line. We must continue to stand strong. We need leaders like Senator John Kennedy who are willing to call out the left for their radical beliefs and defend the values that made this country the beacon of freedom. It's time to wake up, to fight back, and to protect the America we love. If you believe in America, if you believe in the Constitution, and if you believe in protecting our freedom, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and let's keep the fight going. God bless America. See you next time.